Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today is exciting because Reese at the writing Songbird, I will leave her channel linked in the description. She started a readathon called the Middle-earth Readathon. It's going to be held through the month of October. I don't know if she's going to do this every year or if it's just going to be a one-off, but she has asked myself and Amanda and Sarah to help her co-host, and I can't figure out how she knew I was a Tolkien Middle-earth fan. That one stumps me, but she did, and I am. So she's got 9 prompts for books that you can read in the month of October. She said she's very loose with it, so you can read, if you could, read one book to fill all of the prompts. I don't know. I'm not sure if that would be possible. I'm curious if you guys could do that. But anyway, I'm just going to have one book for one prompt. I'm going to share with you today a recommendation of a book that I've already read that would fit the prompt, and a book that fits the prompt that I plan to read in October. So we're going to do 2 books for each prompt, one that I've already read and I recommend to you, and one that I have not read but I plan to. So the first prompt is a love triangle. I don't like love triangles at all. I like nothing about them. So this was a tricky one for me to find. So for the one that I've already read, it's not actually this book. This is book 2. What I'm more referring to is book 1, although it kind of spans the whole trilogy. Our main character, who is this girl, her name is Cora. She's a wealthy, no, she wasn't wealthy. She grew up kind of middle of the road and then found out that her biological father was this super rich tycoon person. And this whole trilogy is her adventure trying to fit into a lifestyle that she's not used to and meeting people that are in her biological father's world. And yeah, anyway, there might be a love triangle in here. Now the one I plan to read, which was really hard because like I said, I don't typically want to read love triangles, but I had read one of the books in this series when I was probably a teenager or early 20s, and I had never read any of the other books in this series. So I thought, well, maybe I would give the whole series a chance from beginning to end. So I picked up the first one. I've had it in my collection for a couple of years, and I just picked it up, and the first line is, "In the autumn of 1788, amid the moors and glens of Scottish lowlands, 2 brothers fight to claim one father's blessing, 2 sisters long to claim one man's heart." Sounds like a love triangle to me, so hopefully I'll still like the book. But this one I plan to read in October. Next up is Unlikely Best Friends. So the one that I have read and recommend is Synapse by Stephen James. This one I am using because our main character, this is science fiction, Christian science fiction, our main character has gone through some trauma, and in this version of our world we have robots that like help humanity do their everyday tasks, and she does not trust robots, so she's never purchased a robot, she's never had one in her house, she doesn't want them, and her brother, because of the trauma she's gone through, buys her a robot, and like, just, here you go. She's like, I don't want this. But anyway, maybe she and the robot make a connection. Unlikely best friends. And I found for choosing one for my TBR was kind of difficult because I haven't read the book, so I don't know who's going to be friends in the book, and I don't know how unlikely or likely they are to be friends. So I went with The Book of the Dun Cow by Walter Wangerin Jr. He is a Christian allegorical author. I don't know if he's still alive, but I think there might be an unlikely friendship in here. The only thing that makes me think that is I browsed the first paragraph of the book, chapter 1. Well, I guess the chapter header, I should say, says how Mundo Kenny came to live with Chanticleer. Chanticleer? And I don't know, there's a rooster and a cow on the cover, so are these Mondocani and Chanticleer, maybe? We're gonna go with it because I don't know how else to pick a book that I haven't read to fill the prompt. The next book is a journey, and I'm really excited that both of the books that I have to show you today have incredible covers. So, Hind's Feet on High Places. This one I selected because, this is Christian allegory again. This is one of my favorites. It is on my favorites shelf. You guys probably see it on my shelf. But I also looked at the first paragraph or sentence in this book to make sure, because I mean, I read it only once, so I'm a little bit foggy on details. I kind of figured it was, I remember that it is some kind of journey, but I just wanted to be sure. And the first paragraph says, "This is the story of how Much Afraid escaped from her fearing relatives and went with the shepherd to the high places where perfect love casteth out fear." So she takes a journey with the with the shepherd to the high places. That's a journey. So, and this cover, look at this, you guys. And this is like the illustrated edition. Like, it's beautiful. I can't wait to read this illustrated edition. So the one I have not read that I plan to put on my TBR for this readathon is Wildwood by Colin Malloy. Like this cover, you guys. Beautiful. So I wanted to make sure, because like I said, I haven't read this book, so I don't know what it's about. So it says, "So begins an adventure that will take Prue and her friend Curtis deep into the impassable wilderness." That sounds like a journey to me, and possibly even quite similar to the adventures that we see in Middle-earth stories. Next up is a strong female lead. So I'm excited to talk to you guys again about Heart of Red, Blood of Blue by Rebecca Billiston. This is a fantastic book. It is written in first person, so if that bothers you, or if you just want to, read the audiobook because it's really good. This is a Christian fantasy, and our female lead has albinism, and she's just got a inner strength in her because of kind of the stigma that she's lived with her whole life, and the way that her father has treated her and kind of like hidden her away from people because he doesn't, I don't know, approve of her albinism. I don't know. But yeah, so she ends up being the one that is supposed to save the family name and the kingdom, her family kingdom, and she is asked to marry a man from a different kingdom, and she goes, and there's a big massacre on their wedding day, and there's a bunch of people that die. One is her intended, and then so her father tries again and betroths her to another man in a different kingdom, and he's just a really awful dude. And she's not excited about it, and she even questions it, but she's like trying to be okay with marrying this man that she doesn't want to even be in the same room with for the sake of her family. So she's strong in that, like she's willing to do the thing that she does not want to do for her family. And then there's also a whole adventure where she has to rely on people she doesn't know if she can trust. She has to rely on herself. There's just a whole bunch of things that she goes through that just prove that she's a strong female lead. So I highly recommend this Christian fantasy. As far as a book that I plan to read Dauntless by Dina Sleeman. I think this one, yeah, is in first person also, right? Is it? Maybe not. I think it's in third person. Yay! Okay, well, for some reason I thought it was first person. Anyway, I plan to read this one. I believe it's like a Robin Hood, gender bend, retelling, Christian fantasy. Christian fantasy, or is there no fantasy in here? Maybe there's no fantasy in here. I'm not sure. Like I said, never read it. But because she is born a baron's daughter, now she's an enemy of the throne. She takes into her charge all of these orphan children and she tries to take care of them. So I mean, that sounds like a pretty strong woman to be born into society or wealth or some kind of high place, to be brought down low and then take charge of a bunch of kids on her own. Like, that sounds pretty strong to me. So I plan to read that one. And I will say about this one was actually something that I saw on Melanie's channel, and she really likes this one. So I'm glad to have heard that, because now I'm extra excited. The next one is An Unlikely Hero. So I do talk about this book a lot, but I did pull mostly from my favorites shelf. So The Girl from the Other Side. He is an unlikely hero because he is in this world, it's kind of like a plague, but not quite. And it turns humanity into these vicious beasts who are, they're not mindless, but they're evil. Like, it doesn't matter who you started off as, you're just going to be one of these beasts. So anyway, this man, however, when he became the beast, a beast among many, he somehow retained his humanity. And then the way that this plague, if you will, moves around is by touch. And he comes across this little girl who's one of the last humans that hasn't been touched yet. And so he saves her, and they have this father-daughter bond, and he loves her. And so that makes him an unlikely hero, because he was supposed to be, for all intents and purposes, this evil beast. But somehow he maintained his humanity and is now, like, sort of a father figure. So this is such a good series. I haven't finished it yet, so I can't speak to the whole series, but I really like this one. And I also found it hard to pick one that I hadn't read, because An Unlikely Hero, I don't know. I don't know what the book is about. I don't know if there's a situation in which requires a hero. I don't know if that hero is unlikely or likely. I don't know. It's very hard to pick a book that I had not read before. So we're gonna go with, this is a real stretch, but we're gonna go with The Gigantic Beard That Was Evil. This is a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time. So it's a graphic novel in black and white, and I don't know anything about this book. Nothing at all. I don't know if the beard is sentient. I don't know if it's alive. I don't know if this guy is bad or good. I have no clue what this book is about. But based on the title, The Gigantic Beard That Was Evil, I'm suspecting that there's going to be some kind of crisis with the beard, and someone else will have to come solve it. And we're just going to assume that person is unlikely? I have no clue. So I'm going to read this one in October. So for the prompt that is most prized, I mean, I had to go with The Hobbit, right? So I'm actually excited because it has been a year or more since I've read The Hobbit. So I am going to be reading The Hobbit in October. Let me know if you want to read The Hobbit with me. I don't know. I know that Reese is reading Return of the King, so if you're already farther along into the series and you want to read that one, read it with her. I think I'm going to read The Hobbit because it is my most prized book. I mean, you guys, obviously the Bible, if my house was burning down and I could only pick one book, it would be the Bible. But if we're talking outside of the Bible, The Hobbit is my book. And it is going to be for a recommendation, which is kind of hard because you can't really recommend, I can't recommend to you your prized book. Do you know what I mean? So, whatever. This is my recommendation if you don't have a most prized book. And this is also going to be one that I read for October. Next book is a sequel. So I am actually going to recommend An Echo in the Darkness by Francine Rivers. This is book 2 of the Mark of the Lion trilogy. Book 1 is excellent. Book 2 is even better. Book 3 is, to me, a throwaway book. You don't even need to read it. But, yeah, I love this book. It has so much faith questioning. Faith questioning? It's an exploration of somebody's disbelief and what kind of turns him to start believing. Yeah? It's very, very good. It's Christian historical in the Roman times. I highly recommend it. That's all I can say. The one for books I have not read yet, I am actually going to be continuing on in the StarLore Legacy series by Chuck Black. I'm on his street team, so I'll leave some of his information in the description down below. He's got a new book out that has now a new audiobook, so we're all excited about that. I am at book 4, and it is called Oath. So I don't own this series yet, but this is what I plan to read. Book 4, it's a sequel, it's Christian sci-fi, good to go. Next up is a book with a mentor. So this one I'm taking some liberties with in terms of, like, when you think of a mentor, you think of like a good mentor. But we're gonna switch that around because I'm gonna go with the Screw Tape Letters. This is also one of my favorite books ever. You definitely should read this if you... I mean, I don't know if I would recommend this. I love it. That's all I can say. You guys, try it. Anyway, the Screw Tape Letters is letters from a senior to a junior devil. So essentially a high up demon in Satan's minions, whatever. He is kind of writing letters to, I think it's his nephew, and he's trying to train him to be a good demon. So that's a mentor. Not a mentor you want to have, but it is a mentor, and I highly recommend this book. So we're going to call that a appropriate choice. Now again, to pick a book I've never read before, I don't know if there's going to be a mentor in this book. I have no idea. I've never read it before, and I don't read too much about books before I read them. So for this tag, I had to do a lot of like reading the back blurbs and reading the first chapter, not the chapter, first paragraphs, just to see if it maybe would give the right feel. So I'm going to go with The Crimson Tapestry by Michael R. Jones. This one is Christian medieval. I don't know if it's fantasy or if it's just historical. I'm unsure. I don't even know what genre it is, see? So, anyway, I'm going to go with this one because it sounds like our main character is an orphan boy who gets rescued by another orphan boy, and that orphan, the rescuer, takes him to a strange man, and I think the man takes them under his wing, or I don't know if he's a bad man. I don't know. So this is, again, a long shot, but hopefully it fits. And lastly is an epic love story. Again, you guys, I read way too much into these prompts. I was like, what does it mean to be an epic love story? What's epic? What makes it epic? I don't know. The longevity of it? The way in which they fell in love? The degree of difficulty of hardships they've gone through? I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. But we're gonna go with Texas Angel by Judith Pella. This is a very, it's a book that deals with a lot of hard topics. And there are a few N-words in the beginning because, like, I've even blacked them out. Because our main character is half black, half white. Yeah. And she doesn't know this her whole life because she's obviously white passing. And then she finds out at some point, and the family that she's married into, which is a very high-ranking white elite family, they disown her, which is where, in that whole scene or whatever, the N-word comes out. And so I don't like that. And so I really have a hard time putting this in my favorites category because of that. But the book is so profound. The way that she just handles life after the fact, because one of the hard things in this book is her mother had been a slave before she died, and the owner, of her mom now claims that he's the owner of her. So she's kind of on the run from him. Does he catch her? Does he not? Like, read the book. But anyway, she meets Benjamin. There's a whole situation in how her and Benjamin come to know each other. But anyway, they get married, and because the slave owner is still trying to get to her, they go through a lot of stuff. And just, it's just, this is a powerful book. I really love it. I just wish those words weren't in here. But do with that what you will. I should also mention this is Christian historical. It's Crystal. Christian historical. And the one that I plan to read, again, I don't know if this is going to be an epic love story. I don't know. So we're going to go with the most obvious romance book that I probably have on my shelf, because I don't really like reach for them. Is Priscilla Hires a Husband by Lori Lough. And this is an arranged marriage. That's all I know. That's what we're going with. Perhaps this arranged marriage or marriage of convenience is epic. Hopefully. Because I'm going to read it in October. So, these are the books that I plan to read in October. I'm pretty excited. Thank you, Reese, for inviting me to co-host with you. This is going to be a blast. I can't wait to see what other things you come up with. There is a graphic that Amanda made, so you can find that and post on your social media if you want which books you plan to read for each prompt. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the Middle-earth Readathon. Let me know if you plan to participate and maybe what books kind of sparked your interest in this video. Let's chat books in the comments below, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!